What if a personality disorder is really just an adaptive way that our brains coped with a really awful situation when we were young? We know a little bit about personality, so we know that there are a few personality traits that we are actually born with, and these personality traits can either be enhanced and expressed or suppressed, depending on how we grow up, what influences we have in our lives, and what sort of trauma we go through. And there's been a lot of research around this, around the nature and nurture kind of concept. And people have applied this to personality itself, but you don't really read very much about this being applied in personality disorders. So with personality, there are around about 5 traits of personality, or maybe 5 traits of temperament that we seem to be born with. And these include openness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, extroversion, and agreeableness. Now, if we grow up in a happy, contented, safe family, then we are free to express what our true personality is. And some of those personality traits might become really beautiful and warm and lovely things that we are known for in our general life. But what about personality disorders? So traditionally in medicine, personality disorders have been seen to be these immovable, unfixable, permanent states of being. They're not treatable. That's the historical view of personality disorders. Or if they are treatable, then they're only treatable with many years of intensive psychotherapy, many hundreds of thousands of dollars spent by the client, and really a huge commitment on the part of both the therapist and the client. So the personality disorders that I'm talking about here can be classified in terms of cluster A. So cluster A is the paranoid, schizotypal or schizoid personality disorders. Cluster B are the ones that we probably hear the most about in our world: the narcissistic personality disorders, the borderline personality disorders, histrionic personality disorders, and antisocial. So then there's the cluster C personality disorders, which are avoidant, obsessive compulsive, and dependent personality disorders. So why am I talking about this in particular today? So just last week, I went to a training in Sydney about the treatment of personality disorders using EMDR, run by this incredible pair of therapists, Jongh and Suzy Matthijssen, from the Netherlands. And I have to say that I am a little bit of a fangirl of these two. They are, first of all, incredible human beings, warm, compassionate, intelligent, very dedicated, very generous people, and also they do really groundbreaking research in terms of how to best use EMDR in clients with very hard to treat conditions like severe PTSD, complex PTSD, and now personality disorders utilizing EMDR. So they use mainly a combination of EMDR and exposure therapy, and they use it in a very intensive model, which is a little bit along the lines of what I do both in hospital and in my outpatient work. So they have just released a study that shows that they can treat somebody in their inpatient unit in the Netherlands with 5 days of intensive therapy. That includes 4 sessions of therapy a day, 2 of exposure therapy, 2 of EMDR therapy, to work on their trauma, and their results are really quite outstanding. What they've found is around 73% of their clients with a personality disorder have, by the end of their stay, lost their symptoms to the extent that they are no longer diagnosable. They're no longer fit in that diagnostic category of personality disorder. So they've done another outpatient study which showed 10 sessions of EMDR over 5 weeks. So that's 2 sessions a week over 5 weeks. And this shows 44% of clients with a personality disorder have then gone into remission with their personality disorder. So this is a really exciting thing to do because it reimagines a personality disorder as a response to trauma. So we all know that when we respond to trauma, we do the best we can in difficult circumstances. We don't want to be damaged by trauma, but our brains just respond in the best way they know how at the time. So if these events happen to us when we're very small, then that response may be helpful in that moment, but might not be helpful in the long term. And it's about what we learn about ourselves and the world from that trauma. So perhaps with personality disorders, we might say that the personality disorder rests on these negative beliefs about ourselves, and these negative beliefs then affect the way we interact with the world and how we respond to various challenges and situations and relationships. For example, with narcissistic personality disorder, the response to the world might be affected by this very deeply hidden underlying belief of, I am bad, I am shameful. And the response to those very painful beliefs about self might be to assert that I'm the best there is, I'm never wrong, I deserve to get my needs met, I always get what I want, there's nobody better than me. So that's a defense. So if we can treat the trauma that underlies that negative belief about self, I'm worthless, I'm shameful, etc., then we don't need the defense anymore. And that's really exciting. So we'll take another personality disorder as a different example. Say, for example, dependent personality disorder. The beliefs that are portrayed in this personality disorder might lie in the control and power realm, and they might be something like, I'm not important, I have no control, I am not effective, I need others to survive, things like that. And people may have learned this very, very early on. And you can imagine what might teach somebody these negative beliefs. Perhaps a very domineering family that didn't allow that child to exert any control over their lives. Maybe a helicopter-y kind of a family who, through maybe goodwill and trying to protect that child, never allowed the child to actually experience the world in full, experience the effect of their decisions. Maybe the helicopter family always wanted to make all the decisions for the child, so they always grew up not making decisions for themselves, letting other people make those decisions, feeling helpless, feeling dependent upon somebody else. So if we can remove or address those memories of being helpless or of not having control, then that person will be able to make some more positive beliefs about themselves. I do have control, I can make good decisions, I can survive by myself. And then they can actually be more self-actualizing, more independent, make good decisions for themselves, or maybe even make any decision for themselves. So this is really exciting research that they presented at the training the other day. And I'm so pleased that I went to the training, because even though I had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to take a 6 o'clock flight from Melbourne to get to Sydney and get to the training by 9 a.m. So it was a really huge day, but it was really such a well worthwhile day to learn about this. And it was also really huge because the concepts that Suzy and Ad are promoting are really exciting and groundbreaking and inspiring. So how am I going to use this in my own practice? Exactly how am I inspired to change my practice? Well, I have this renewed commitment to actually treating the trauma that underlies the discomfort, that underlies the unhappiness, that causes the coping mechanisms or the defenses. So I've always had this commitment, but it's really just enhanced my commitment to my clients in that way. How I approach these things, what I base my case conceptualization on. And I think we always need to hold in mind that we need to get to the center of the distress more quickly and more effectively. Because the earlier we do this, the sooner our clients can release all the distress around their memories, the sooner they can form adaptive beliefs about themselves, and then they can have the peaceful life or the exciting life maybe, or the interconnected life that they so deserve. So if you are a therapist and would like to learn more about this case conceptualization that might be helpful to you or your treatment of personality disorders, then I would highly recommend, if you can, going along to one of Jongh and Suzy Matthijssen's trainings. And I have to note here, this is not a paid ad. I'm not getting anything for saying this. I have just personally found their trainings to be really, really effective to help me use my skills to the best of my ability. So if you're not able to do that or aren't in a place in the world where you can access a training by Jongh and Suzy Matthijssen, or if you want some help in case conceptualizing around some of your current clients, feel free to reach out to me for consultation. In other exciting news this week, I am super happy to report that this week EMDR, the EMDR Association of Australia, has notified me that my application to become a consultant has been successful. So that's another really exciting thing in my life and something that I'll be paying a little bit more attention to in my career, helping other EMDR therapists be the best therapists that they can be and become more confident, more effective, and get greater joy from their work. So feel free to reach out to me for consultation. If you are a client and have at some stage been diagnosed with a personality disorder, then maybe this podcast has been a little bit helpful to you in just reconceptualizing that it may be a very adaptive response to a really terrible situation that you faced early in life. And that this adaptation, if it's not serving you anymore, if it's getting in the way, then it can certainly be alleviated with good trauma therapy, and EMDR may be able to help you with that. A personality disorder diagnosis does not need to last a whole lifetime. I hope this has been helpful to you. Please feel free to reach out to me via my website, emdrdoctor.com.au, or my email address, admin@therapynest.com.au. And if you have enjoyed this podcast, then please do like, review, and subscribe, because it really does help others to find the podcast. Or you can leave a comment or a request either down below if you're watching on YouTube, or send it to me. If you have a request for a podcast topic, I would love to help you out there. So I love to hear from you all, and I will talk to you all again next week. In the meantime, take good care. Bye for now.